The maid accidentally enters the billionaire's bathroom and ends up falling in love with him. Hello, let's hear another incredible story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. I love narrating stories for you, so get ready. Let's start. Emma Carter's fingers trembled slightly as she inserted the master key into apartment 52A of the Alexandria, one of Manhattan's most prestigious residential buildings. 6 months of cleaning these luxurious homes hadn't dulled the mixture of awe and intimidation she felt each time she crossed these thresholds. Each apartment told its own story of wealth and privilege, but none quite like Nathan Hale's penthouse. The morning sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across Italian marble floors. Emma adjusted her cleaning cart, careful not to scratch the immaculate surface. The space always struck her as beautiful yet lonely, minimal furniture, pristine surfaces, and absolutely no personal touches. No family photos, no magazines carelessly left on coffee tables, not even a stray coffee mug to suggest someone actually lived here. She followed her usual routine, starting with the living room. As she dusted the sleek entertainment system, her eyes drifted to her reflection in the black screen. Dark circles shadowed her honey-brown eyes, evidence of another late night studying design concepts on her worn laptop. The latest tuition bill for her dream school sat heavily in her inbox, a constant reminder of why she was here. Just 2 more years, she whispered to herself, straightening her uniform. 2 more years of early mornings and late nights, of scrubbing other people's floors while sketching interior designs in stolen moments. 2 more years until she could transform spaces like this one, instead of just cleaning them. The penthouse was typically empty at this hour. Mr. Hale, like most residents, kept a predictable schedule: out by 7 a.m., return after 8 p.m. Emma had only glimpsed him twice in 6 months, a tall figure in impeccable suits who barely acknowledged her existence. The gossip among the cleaning staff painted him as cold, demanding, and impossibly private. Some whispered about his sudden breakup with socialite Victoria Sterling last year, while others speculated about his mysterious past before becoming a tech billionaire. Emma moved methodically through the apartment, losing herself in the rhythm of cleaning while her mind wandered to color schemes and textile patterns. The master bedroom was last on her list. She knocked softly, a habit, even knowing the space would be empty, and pushed the door open. Steam billowed from the ensuite bathroom, and before Emma could process what that meant, the door swung open. Nathan Hale stepped out, a towel wrapped low around his hips, water droplets trailing down his chest. Their eyes met in a moment of mutual shock. Emma's cleaning supplies clattered to the floor. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You're never... I didn't know." She spun around, face burning, and promptly tangled her feet in the fallen supplies. The world tilted as she lost her balance. Strong hands gripped her shoulders, steadying her. The touch lasted only a second before Nathan stepped back, but Emma felt the warmth of his skin like a brand through her uniform. "Are you all right?" His voice was deep, with none of the anger she expected. When she dared to turn around, she found him studying her with an unreadable expression, now clutching the towel more securely. "I should be asking you that," Emma managed, mortified. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Hale. This has never happened before. I always check the schedule, and you're never here at this time, and I should have noticed the steam, and—" She forced herself to stop rambling, fixing her eyes firmly on the floor. A strange sound made her look up. The corners of his mouth had turned up slightly. Was Nathan Hale actually amused? "The board meeting was cancelled," he said, as if he owed her an explanation. His eyes, a striking shade of grey, seemed to see right through her professional facade to the nervous art student beneath. "I'll come back later," Emma said quickly, gathering her supplies with shaking hands. "Or tomorrow or never, if you prefer. I completely understand if you want to request a different cleaning person. That won't be necessary." Was it her imagination, or had his voice softened? "These things happen, though perhaps we should review the scheduling system." Emma nodded vigorously, already backing toward the door. Absolutely. I'll speak with management right away. Again, I'm so sorry, Mr. Hale. She fled the apartment, her heart pounding against her ribs. Only when she was safely in the service elevator did she realize she'd left her favorite duster behind. It sat accusingly on his bedroom floor, a bright yellow betrayal. Later that night, as Emma tried to focus on her online design course, her mind kept drifting back to that moment. Not to the mortification, though there was plenty of that, but to the surprising gentleness in Nathan Hale's voice, the hint of a smile that transformed his usually stern face. For a brief moment, he hadn't seemed like the untouchable billionaire everyone whispered about, but like something far more dangerous, a real person. She shook her head, forcing her attention back to her laptop screen. She couldn't afford to dwell on Nathan Hale or the strange flutter in her stomach when he'd steadied her. She had a future to build, and it didn't include getting fired for inappropriate thoughts about her employer. Still, as she finally drifted off to sleep, her dreams were filled with grey eyes and the ghost of warm hands on her shoulders. Nathan Hale stood at his office window, gazing out at the Manhattan skyline without really seeing it. The morning's unexpected encounter kept replaying in his mind, disrupting his usually laser-focused concentration. In his world of calculated risks and strategic decisions, spontaneous moments were rare and rarely welcome. Yet he couldn't shake the image of those honey-brown eyes widening in surprise, the genuine mortification in her apologies. Emma Carter. He'd learned her full name from the building's management after making what he told himself was a routine inquiry about cleaning staff schedules. Mr. Hale? His assistant's voice cut through his thoughts. The investors from Singapore are waiting in the conference room. Nathan straightened his tie, pushing away the memory of Emma's flustered expression. Have legal sent the updated contracts? Yes, sir, though. His assistant hesitated. Ms. Sterling called again. She insists it's urgent. A familiar tension crept into Nathan's shoulders at the mention of Victoria. Their breakup had been clean on paper. Mutual statements released to the press. Assets cleanly divided. But Victoria had never accepted endings she didn't orchestrate herself. Tell her I'm in meetings all day, he said, gathering his tablet. The boardroom awaited, along with the careful dance of power and politics he'd mastered over the years. This was his element: numbers, strategies, the comfortable distance of professional relationships. Yet throughout the meeting, his thoughts kept straying to that yellow duster left behind on his bedroom floor. He what? Lucy nearly dropped her coffee cup, staring at Emma across their tiny break room table. Emma shushed her friend and fellow cleaner, glancing nervously at the door. Keep your voice down. I've already died of embarrassment once today. I don't need a repeat performance. Lucy leaned forward, her dark curls bouncing with excitement. But Emma, do you realize what this means? You're the first person to see Nathan Hale in anything less than a three-piece suit. Half the women in Manhattan would kill for that privilege. They can have it, Emma muttered, though her cheeks warmed at the memory. I'll probably be fired by the end of the day. For what? Following your normal schedule. Besides, Lucy's eyes twinkled, you said he wasn't even angry. Maybe he liked what he saw too. Emma threw a napkin at her friend. Don't even joke about that. Men like Nathan Hale don't notice girls like me. At least, not in any way that ends well. She'd learned that lesson watching her mother chase romance up the social ladder, only to crash back down each time, taking Emma with her. Your mum's choices aren't yours, Em, Lucy said softly, reading her friend's expression. And you're nothing like those girls who chase billionaires. You're actually going somewhere. Emma's phone buzzed before she could respond. Her heart jumped when she saw the email notification from management, then plummeted as she read the message. They want me in the office. Now. She stood on shaky legs. This is it. Back to job hunting. Lucy squeezed her hand. It'll be fine. Just explain what happened. The walk to the management office felt like a march to execution. Emma mentally calculated her savings, wondering how long she could maintain her class schedule without this job. The thought of delaying her dreams yet again made her chest tight, but when she entered the office, she found not termination papers, but a revised cleaning schedule. "Mr. Mahale has requested some adjustments to his service times," the manager explained. "He's specifically asked that you remain his assigned cleaner, but would prefer afternoon appointments." Emma blinked, certain she'd misheard. "He wants to keep me on?" "Apparently so." The manager peered at her curiously. "Consider yourself lucky. Mr. Hale usually requests staff changes at the slightest inconvenience." Emma left the office in a daze, relief mingling with confusion. Why would Nathan Hale, who could have demanded any change he wanted, choose to keep her as his cleaner after such an awkward encounter? The answer came later that afternoon, when she arrived at his apartment for her rescheduled service. On the entrance table sat her yellow duster, carefully cleaned, alongside a handwritten note. "Miss Carter, I believe this belongs to you. I appreciate your discretion regarding this morning's incident. Your professional handling of the situation hasn't gone unnoticed. N.H." Emma traced the elegant handwriting with her fingertip, noting the weight of the expensive paper, such a formal note for such an informal encounter. Yet something about his acknowledgement of her professionalism made her stand a little straighter. She tucked the note into her pocket, a reminder that even in her most mortifying moments, she could maintain her dignity. Then she got to work, determined to prove his confidence in her wasn't misplaced. But as she cleaned, Emma couldn't help noticing new details about the apartment: the precise arrangement of his books, the sophisticated coffee machine she now knew he used earlier than she'd thought, the subtle scent of his cologne that lingered in the master bedroom. The space felt less like a museum and more like a glimpse into its owner's carefully ordered world. A world that, despite her best intentions, was becoming harder to see as just another cleaning assignment. Over the next 2 weeks, Emma developed an uncanny sixth sense for Nathan Hale's presence. Despite the schedule change, she found herself hyper-aware of any sign he might be home. A warm coffee cup in the sink, the faint sound of a shower running, the lingering warmth of his cologne in the air. Each time she entered his apartment, her heart did a nervous little dance, both hoping for and dreading another encounter. Today, the penthouse felt empty as usual, but something was different. The normally pristine living room showed signs of disturbance: cushions askew, a glass of amber liquid abandoned on the coffee table, papers scattered across the floor. Emma's first instinct was to tidy everything, but something made her pause. The papers weren't ordinary documents. They were old photographs. She knew she shouldn't look. Personal items were strictly off-limits according to company policy. But, as she bent to gather them, one image caught her eye. A much younger Nathan, maybe 18 or 19, with his arm around a boy who could have been his twin. Both were smiling, real, unguarded smiles that made Nathan look like a completely different person than the stern businessman she knew. "Those are private." Emma nearly jumped out of her skin at Nathan's voice behind her. She spun around, the photograph still in her hand, to find him standing in the doorway. His usual polished appearance was notably disheveled, tie loosened, hair messed as if he'd been running his hands through it, eyes shadowed with something that looked like pain. "I'm so sorry," Emma said quickly, extending the photo toward him. "I was just going to clean up by going through my personal belongings." His voice had an edge she'd never heard before, sharp enough to cut. "No, I would never." Emma stopped, taking a breath. "You're right. I shouldn't have looked. I apologize." She placed the photo carefully on the coffee table and stepped back, gathering her cleaning supplies. "I should go." "Wait." The word seemed to surprise them both. Nathan ran a hand over his face, his anger seeming to deflate. "I apologize for my reaction. It's not a good day." Emma hesitated, knowing she should leave, but unable to ignore the raw emotion in his voice. "Is there anything I can do? Maybe some fresh coffee?" Nathan looked at her then, really looked at her, as if seeing past her uniform to the person beneath. "Why do you do this job, Ms. Carter?" The question caught her off guard. I need the money for school, she found herself answering honestly. I'm studying design, interior design. And please, call me Emma. Design. He picked up the photograph she'd been looking at, staring at it with distant eyes. My brother was an artist, always saw the beauty in everything. His voice caught slightly on the word was. Emma's heart squeezed. The boy in the photo, he's your brother. Was. Nathan set the photo down carefully, precisely as if it might shatter. Car accident. 10 years ago today. The words hung heavy in the air between them. Emma thought of all the gossip about Nathan Hale's cold demeanor, his inability to maintain relationships. How many people knew he carried this weight? Before she could stop herself, she said, "My dad died when I was 12. Car accident too." She never talked about this, not even with Lucy. Sometimes I still reach for the phone to tell him something before I remember. Nathan's eyes met hers, recognition flickering in their grey depths. For a moment, they were just two people who understood loss, the space between their worlds narrowing to nothing. Then Nathan straightened, his professional mask sliding back into place. "Thank you for your discretion, Emma, about the photos and everything else." Of course, she understood. Moment over, walls back up. But as she turned to leave, he spoke again. "What kind of design do you want to do?" Emma looked back, surprised by his continued interest. "I love transforming spaces, making them feel like home. Not just beautiful, but lived in, you know?" She gestured at his austere apartment, then immediately regretted it. Sorry, I didn't mean—" "No, you're right." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. This place could use some warmth. Their eyes held for a moment longer than necessary. Emma felt something shift in the air between them, like a door opening just a crack. "I should get back to work," she said softly. Nathan nodded, already turning toward his home office, but he paused in the doorway. "Emma, thank you for sharing about your father." She watched him disappear into his office, her heart beating an unfamiliar rhythm. The photograph still sat on the coffee table, two smiling brothers frozen in time. With gentle hands, she placed it in the center of the mantel, where the morning sun could catch it. As she finished cleaning, Emma couldn't help but notice other small signs of the man behind the billionaire facade. Dog-eared pages in engineering books, a worn MIT sweatshirt draped over a chair, a small collection of vinyl records. The space was telling her its story, and she was starting to listen. But a voice in her head that sounded suspiciously like her mother warned, getting personally involved with employers never ended well, especially employers who lived in penthouses and carried decades of carefully guarded pain. Still, as she left the apartment, Emma couldn't forget the way Nathan's walls had cracked, just for a moment, showing her something real. Something that made him more than just another cleaning assignment, more than just a billionaire in a penthouse. And that, she knew, was dangerous. Victoria Sterling's Louboutin heels clicked against the marble floor of the Alexandria's lobby with lethal precision. The doorman straightened instinctively. Old habits died hard, even though she hadn't lived in the building for over a year. "Ms. Sterling," he nodded, reaching for the security phone. "No need to announce me, Robert." Her smile was pure silk. "I'm still in the system." She flashed the access card she'd never returned, ignoring his uncertain expression. "That Nathan's expecting me." He wasn't, of course, but Victoria had learned long ago that confidence was as good as an invitation. She'd built her entire career in public relations on that principle. Act like you belong, and others will believe you do. The elevator ride to the penthouse gave her time to adjust her appearance in the mirrored walls. The Chanel suit was new, its deep blue perfectly calculated to remind Nathan of their first meeting. Her engagement ring, the one he'd given her, glinted on a chain around her neck, another carefully chosen detail. When the doors opened, she found not Nathan, but his cleaning girl arranging fresh flowers in the entryway. Victoria's lips curved into a practiced smile. How lovely, though Nathan always preferred orchids to lilies. Emma nearly dropped the vase, recognizing Victoria instantly from Society magazine covers. "Miss Sterling, I'm sorry, but Mr. Hale isn't home." "Oh, I don't mind waiting." Victoria moved into the living room like she still owned it, noting small changes since her last visit. Her gaze caught on the photograph on the mantel, Nathan and Daniel, from before. Her smile slipped slightly. She'd spent years trying to get Nathan to display that photo. "I'm afraid that's not possible," Emma said, her voice firmer than she expected. "Building policy doesn't allow visitors when residents are absent." Victoria turned, really looking at the cleaning girl for the first time. Pretty, in a simple way. Young, the kind of earnest face that had no place in Nathan's world. Policy. How conscientious. Nathan mentioned you were diligent. Emma's heart skipped. Nathan talked about her. "Mr. Hale discusses his cleaning service. Nathan and I discuss everything." Victoria settled onto the leather sofa, crossing her legs elegantly. "We have history, you see. The kind that doesn't just disappear with a few newspaper headlines." Before Emma could respond, the elevator chimed. Nathan stepped out, freezing when he saw Victoria. "What are you doing here?" "Darling, finally!" Victoria rose gracefully. "I've been trying to reach you for weeks. The Barrett Foundation Gala is next month, and the press expects us to attend together as usual." "Not anymore." Nathan's voice was ice. "Emma, would you excuse us for a moment?" Emma nodded, gathering her cleaning supplies, but Victoria's voice stopped her. "Oh, stay! You should hear this. It affects the whole building. Nathan and I are announcing our reconciliation at the gala. The newspapers will be all over it, of course. Such a romantic story, finding our way back to each other." Victoria. Nathan's warning tone could have frozen hell. "What?" "It's hardly a secret." Victoria's eyes fixed on Emma with cobra-like intensity. "Though, speaking of secrets, I've been meaning to ask about that unfortunate incident with the SEC investigation last year. The one you worked so hard to keep quiet." The color drained from Nathan's face. Emma saw his hands clench into fists. "I think I should go," Emma said quietly, but her mind was racing. SEC investigation. What had Victoria meant about keeping it quiet? "Nonsense!" Victoria's laugh tinkled like broken glass. "Nathan, pour us some champagne. We should celebrate." "Get out." Nathan's voice was deadly quiet. "Now." Victoria's smile never wavered, but her eyes hardened. "You can't avoid me forever, darling. We both know how this ends." She moved to the elevator, then paused beside Emma. "Lovely meeting you. Do be careful with the baccarat vases. They're irreplaceable." After she left, silence filled the penthouse. Emma stood awkwardly, unsure whether to leave or stay. Nathan stared out the window, his shoulders rigid with tension. "I'm sorry," Emma finally said. "I should have called security when she arrived. It's not your fault." Nathan turned, his expression haunted. "Victoria's very good at getting what she wants." "Are you—" Emma hesitated. "Are you getting back together?" "No." The word was emphatic. "Victoria lives in the past. I've moved on." But Emma couldn't forget Victoria's comment about the SEC. "She seemed to know a lot about your life." Nathan's eyes met hers, something like regret in their depths. "Victoria knows how to weaponize information. It's what she does best." He ran a hand through his hair. "I should have warned you about her." "Warned me?" Emma's pulse quickened. "Why would I need warning?" "Because—" Nathan stepped closer, close enough that Emma could see the flecks of silver in his eyes. "She'll try to use you to get to me, and I don't want you caught in the crossfire." The air between them felt charged, heavy with unspoken things. Emma knew she should step back, maintain professional distance. Instead, she found herself asking, "Why did you keep my photo on the mantel?" Nathan's expression softened. "Because you saw the person in it, not just the tragedy. You made it feel like a memory worth keeping in sight." Emma's heart thundered in her chest. They were standing too close now, the space between them shrinking with each breath. Nathan's hand moved as if to touch her face, then dropped. "But you should go," he said roughly. "Please." Emma nodded, gathering her remaining supplies. But at the elevator, she turned back. The SEC investigation Victoria mentioned is complicated. Nathan's expression closed off. These are not something you need to worry about, but as Emma rode down to the service level, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was already worried about Nathan, about Victoria's threats, and most of all, about the way her heart had leaped when he'd almost touched her. Lucy was right. Nothing good could come from falling for a billionaire, especially one with secrets dark enough to make him look afraid. Late autumn rain drummed against the windows of Emma's tiny Brooklyn apartment as she stared at her laptop screen. Her half-finished design project sat neglected while article after article about Nathan Hale filled her browser. Most were standard business news, acquisitions, stock prices, charity galas, but buried in the archives she found hints of something else. Hale Industries faces informal SEC inquiry. Read one headline from 18 months ago. The article was frustratingly vague, mentioning accounting irregularities and voluntary cooperation. A week later, all coverage stopped, as if the story had simply disappeared. "You're obsessing," Lucy called from their small kitchen, where she was making tea. "Also, isn't this exactly what you promised not to do?" Emma minimized the browser guiltily. "I'm not obsessing. I'm researching." "Right." Lucy set a steaming mug beside her. "Because Googling your employer's mysterious past is totally normal behavior. Victoria practically dared me to look into it." Emma wrapped her hands around the warm mug. "The way Nathan reacted, Lucy, I've never seen him look scared before. And that's relevant to you because his pain felt like her pain, because she couldn't forget the way he'd almost touched her face. Because every time she closed her eyes, she saw his expression when he'd told her to be careful." "It's not," Emma lied. "I'm just curious." Lucy's expression softened. "Honey, I know that look. You're getting invested. And Nathan Hale isn't just out of your league. He's playing a different sport entirely." "I know that." Emma stood abruptly, moving to the window. Their view of the Manhattan skyline was partial, interrupted by fire escapes and water towers. Somewhere out there, Nathan's penthouse gleamed above it all. "Nothing's going to happen. Nothing can happen." Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Her heart stopped when she read it. "Need to speak with you. Important. Come to the penthouse tonight. NH." "Is that him?" Lucy peered over her shoulder. "How did he get your number?" "Probably from my employee file." Emma's fingers hovered over the keypad. "I shouldn't go." "Definitely not." Lucy took the phone, reading the text again. "After hours. Alone. That's literally every HR violation possible." But Emma was already reaching for her coat. "It could be about Victoria. Maybe he needs to warn me about something. Or maybe Victoria sent that text." Lucy blocked the door. "Think, Em, why wouldn't he just talk to you during your regular cleaning time?" Emma hesitated. Lucy was right. This wasn't like Nathan. But she couldn't shake the urgency in those words, the memory of his haunted expression when Victoria mentioned the SEC. "I'll be careful," she promised, sliding past Lucy. "I'll text you when I get there, and again when I leave." "Emma, wait." But she was already hurrying down the stairs, her heart pounding with equal parts anticipation and fear. The Alexandria was different at night, darker, more imposing. The doorman was one Emma didn't recognize, but her employee ID got her through. The service elevator felt colder than usual as it carried her up to the penthouse floor. She knocked softly on Nathan's door. No answer. Her keycard still worked, though her hands shook slightly as she used it. The penthouse was dark, except for a single lamp in the living room. Empty. "Mr. Hale." Her voice sounded small in the vast space. "Nathan. Well, this is interesting." Emma whirled around. Victoria Sterling emerged from the shadows of the Home Office, elegant as ever in a black dress that probably cost more than Emma's yearly rent. "You actually came." Victoria's smile was all teeth. "When Nathan mentioned his cleaning girl had a crush on him, I hardly believed it. But here you are, rushing over on just a text." Emma's cheeks burned. You sent that message? Obviously. Victoria moved closer, studying Emma like a scientist might study a particularly disappointing specimen. Though I'm curious, what did you think would happen? That Nathan would confess his hidden feelings, sweep you off your feet? I should go. Emma turned toward the door, but Victoria's next words stopped her. He'll never trust you, you know, not after he finds out you've been investigating him. Emma's blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Please. Victoria held up her phone, showing screenshots of Emma's browser history. I have friends in IT. The building's Wi-Fi isn't as secure as they claim. That's illegal, Emma whispered. So is accessing confidential SEC files. Victoria's voice hardened, which is exactly what Nathan will think you are trying to do once he sees these searches. Combined with your convenient after-hours visit tonight, well, it paints quite a picture. Emma felt sick. What do you want? Simple. Stay away from Nathan. Find another job, another building. Disappear. Victoria stepped closer, her perfume overwhelmingly sweet. Or I'll make sure Nathan sees exactly what kind of person you really are, the kind who digs up secrets and sneaks around after dark. Is everything all right in here? Both women turned. Nathan stood in the doorway, rain darkening his suit, his expression thunderous as he took in the scene. Nathan! Victoria's voice turned honey-sweet. I was just having a lovely chat with your cleaning girl. She seems very interested in your business affairs. Emma met Nathan's eyes, seeing the doubt there, the questioning. She thought of trying to explain about the text, about Victoria's threats. But looking at him now, the distance between their worlds felt vast and unbridgeable. I'm sorry, she managed. I shouldn't be here. She fled past him to the elevator, her vision blurring with unshed tears. Behind her, she heard Nathan call her name, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Lucy was right. Nothing good could come from falling for a billionaire, especially when his ex-fiancée held all the cards in a game Emma never meant to play. Emma didn't go to work the next day, or the day after. She called in sick, something she'd never done before, letting the automated system record her absence. Her phone buzzed periodically with texts from Lucy, but she couldn't bring herself to read them. Instead, she sat at her tiny desk, attempting to focus on her design coursework while rain continued to pour outside. The half-finished rendering on her screen showed a living room transformation, from cold and impersonal to warm and inviting. She'd started it weeks ago, inspired by Nathan's penthouse. Now it felt like a mockery. A knock at her apartment door startled her, probably Lucy checking on her again. Emma opened it without looking, ready to assure her friend she was fine. But it wasn't Lucy. Nathan Hale stood in her narrow hallway, looking completely out of place in his expensive suit. Rain darkened his shoulders, suggesting he'd walked some distance. His eyes moved over her face, taking in the shadows under her eyes, the oversized sweater she'd been living in for 2 days. How did you find me? She managed. Your employee file. He didn't apologize for the invasion of privacy. May I come in? Emma stepped back automatically, her mind racing. The apartment was tiny, cluttered with design samples and coursework, nothing like the pristine spaces Nathan was used to. He entered slowly, taking in the exposed brick walls, the makeshift design board covered in fabric swatches, the view of fire escapes through rain-streaked windows. His gaze lingered on her laptop screen, where his living room was being reimagined in warmer tones. Is that my penthouse? Emma quickly closed the laptop. It's just a school project. I'm sorry about the other night. Victoria explained everything, how I've been investigating you. I understand if you want to terminate my employment. Victoria explains a lot of things, Nathan said quietly, most of them designed to serve her own interests. He pulled out his phone, showing her a series of texts. She sent me these screenshots of your search history. Wanted me to see how you were digging up dirt on me. Emma's heart sank. I can explain, but then I looked at the timestamps. Nathan's eyes met hers. All those searches happened after Victoria mentioned the SEC investigation. after she deliberately dropped that information to make you curious. I shouldn't have looked into your personal business, Emma said. It was unprofessional. Was it personal business you were interested in? Nathan stepped closer. Or were you worried about me? The question hung in the air between them. Emma thought about lying, about maintaining professional distance, but she was tired of pretending. I saw your face when she mentioned it, she said softly. You looked haunted, and after you told me to be careful, I thought maybe you were trying to warn me about something. Nathan's expression softened. I was, but not about what you think. He moved to her window, staring out at the rain. The SEC investigation was into my brother's death. Emma's breath caught. What? Daniel was brilliant, creative, but he struggled with bipolar disorder. Nathan's voice was raw with old pain. The month before he died, he noticed accounting irregularities in our company's books, evidence of embezzlement by our CFO at the time. But instead of coming to me, he tried to investigate himself. He was in a manic phase, convinced he could solve everything. The car accident, Emma whispered. Nathan nodded. Wasn't an accident. The CFO arranged it to look like one. By the time I figured it out, the evidence was buried deep. It took me years to build a case. The SEC investigation was the final piece, proving the embezzlement, which led to proving the murder. Did they arrest him? The CFO? He died in prison last year. Suicide. Nathan's hands clenched on the windowsill. Victoria helped cover up the SEC investigation to protect our stock prices. She thought she was helping, but she was hiding the truth about your brother, Emma finished. That's why you broke up with her. Among other reasons, Nathan turned to face her. Victoria believes image is everything. She'd rather bury ugly truths than face them. But you, his voice softened. Adieu, you put my brother's photo on the mantel. You saw the pain and thought it was worth acknowledging. Emma moved closer, drawn by the vulnerability in his voice. Is that why you kept me as your cleaner? Because I saw the real you. I kept you because you weren't afraid to show me the real you. Nathan's hand rose to her face, this time following through on the gesture he'd aborted before. His fingers were warm against her cheek. Even when you were mortified about walking in on me, you were completely genuine. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Emma's heart thundered in her chest. They were standing too close again, but this time there was no professional distance to maintain, no Victoria to interrupt. Nathan, she whispered, I'm still your employee. No, he said softly. You're the woman who made me want to trust again, who made my empty penthouse feel like it could be a home. His thumb traced her cheekbone. If you want to leave your job, I'll write you the best reference any design firm has ever seen. But please don't leave because of Victoria's threats. Emma leaned into his touch, months of denied feelings rushing to the surface. What if they're right? Everyone who says people like us don't belong together, then they've never seen the way you transform every space you enter. Nathan's eyes held hers, including the empty spaces in me. When he kissed her, it felt like coming home, like all the walls between their worlds were finally crumbling, leaving just two people who saw each other's pain and chose to face it together. Outside, the rain continued to fall, but inside Emma's tiny apartment, something warm and real was blooming, something that didn't care about penthouses or cleaning carts, about society pages or secret investigations, something that felt, despite everything, like trust. You did what? Lucy nearly dropped the coffee pot she was refilling at their favorite diner. Emma Carter, tell me you didn't kiss your billionaire boss in your apartment. Emma sank lower in the vinyl booth, grateful for the early morning emptiness of the restaurant. He kissed me, actually, after telling me about his brother. His brother? Lucy slid into the opposite seat, coffee forgotten. The one from the photograph? Emma nodded, then told Lucy everything. About Daniel's murder, the SEC investigation, Victoria's role in the cover-up. With each detail, her friend's expression grew more concerned. This isn't just some rich guy with baggage. This is serious. Lucy leaned forward. People died over this, and Victoria sounds dangerous. Nathan's not afraid of her. Maybe he should be, And maybe you should be too. Lucy's dark eyes softened. I know you care about him, but this is way bigger than a forbidden romance. What happens when the press finds out? They'll dig up everything. Your mum's history, your background. Emma's stomach twisted. She hadn't thought about that. Her mother's string of failed relationships with wealthy men had made local headlines more than once. Nathan's different, she insisted. He doesn't care about any of that. But his board of directors might. Lucy squeezed her hand. Just be careful, okay? Nathan's penthouse felt different now. Emma moved through the familiar spaces with new awareness, remembering the taste of his kiss, the warmth of his hands. She'd insisted on keeping her cleaning schedule, a futile attempt at normalcy that fooled neither of them. She was arranging fresh flowers, orchids this time, but not because of Victoria, when her phone buzzed, a news alert about Hale Industries. Her heart stopped when she saw the headline, Hale Industries stock plummets amid rumors of CEO scandal. Below was a grainy photo of Nathan leaving her apartment building 2 days ago, his suit dark with rain. The article speculated about his mysterious visit to Brooklyn and quoted sources close to the CEO about his erratic behavior since his breakup with Victoria Sterling. Emma's hands shook as she read Victoria's carefully worded statement. Nathan has been under tremendous pressure lately. Those closest to him are naturally concerned about his judgment. The elevator chimed. Nathan strode in, his expression stormy. Have you seen it? Emma held up her phone wordlessly. The board called an emergency meeting. He ran a hand through his hair. Victoria's timing is perfect, as usual. We're in final negotiations for a major acquisition. Any hint of instability could tank the deal. What can I do? Emma asked. Nathan's expression softened as he looked at her. You're already doing it. Being here. Being real. He moved closer, drawn to her like gravity. The board wants me to release a statement, deny any inappropriate relationships that could damage the company's reputation. Emma's heart squeezed. Maybe you should. No. His voice was firm. I'm done hiding things to protect stock prices. That's what Victoria would do. But your company can survive a few gossip columns. Nathan cupped her face in his hands. I lost my brother because business secrets were considered more important than truth. I won't lose you the same way. Emma leaned into his touch, but before she could respond, her phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. You're not the first charity case he's taken in. Ask him about Rebecca Porter. Why, what is it? Nathan asked, seeing her expression change. Emma showed him the text. His face darkened. Victoria's getting desperate. Who's Rebecca Porter? A muscle ticked in Nathan's jaw. Someone else Victoria destroyed to protect me. He took Emma's hand. Come on, there's something you need to see. He led her to his home office, a space she usually just dusted quickly and left. From a locked drawer, he withdrew a worn folder. Rebecca was my brother's girlfriend, he explained, opening the folder to reveal old photographs. She was an art student, like him. They were planning to get married. Emma studied the photos. A younger Daniel with a pretty redhead, both laughing, covered in paint. They looked happy, in love. After Daniel's death, Rebecca knew something was wrong. She started asking questions, looking into the accident. Nathan's voice was tight with old pain. Victoria convinced the board that Rebecca was unstable, trying to exploit Daniel's death for money. They paid her to go away, buried everything under NDAs. What happened to her? She moved to Europe, stopped painting. Last I heard, she was teaching English in Barcelona. Nathan's hands clenched on the folder. I should have protected her, should have listened when she said the accident felt wrong. But I was too focused on the company, on maintaining the image Victoria said was so important. Emma touched his arm gently. You were grieving. I was a coward. Nathan met her eyes. That's why Victoria sent you that text. She thinks threatening to reveal Rebecca's story will make me back off, make me choose the company's image over you. Will it? Instead of answering, Nathan pulled her close, kissing her with an intensity that took her breath away. When they parted, his eyes were fierce. Never, A sharp knock interrupted them. Nathan's assistant stood in the doorway, looking apologetic. "Sir, the board is waiting." Nathan straightened, his professional mask sliding back into place, but his hand stayed linked with Emma's. "Tell them I'll be there in an hour, and call PR. I want to make a statement." "Nathan," Emma started, but he squeezed her hand. "No more secrets," he said softly. "No more letting Victoria decide what stories we're allowed to tell." As he left for his meeting, Emma stood in his office, surrounded by evidence of past pain and present courage. On his desk, a single orchid bloomed in a crystal vase, her addition from this morning, a small touch of beauty in a space marked by hard decisions. She thought of Lucy's warnings, of Victoria's threats, of all the reasons this couldn't work. But then she remembered Nathan's words. No more secrets. Maybe that was the difference between them and all the failed relationships in their past. Maybe truth, however messy, was stronger than any perfect image. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from Victoria. She deleted it without reading it. Some messages didn't deserve an audience. Billionaire's new love, rags to riches or calculated climb. Emma stared at the headline, splashed across her tablet screen, her stomach churning. The article painted her exactly as she'd feared, a gold digger following in her mother's footsteps. They'd even dug up old photos, her mother hanging on the arm of various wealthy men, teenage Emma in the background, looking lost. "Don't read that trash," Lucy said, trying to take the tablet away. But Emma couldn't stop scrolling. Sources close to the family suggest this isn't the first time Catherine Carter's daughter has set her sights on wealthy men. Emma's voice cracked. "They interviewed my mother's last boyfriend. The one who doesn't matter," Lucy interrupted firmly. "Your mum's mistakes aren't yours." But the press didn't see it that way. Ever since Nathan's press conference 3 days ago, where he'd calmly announced both his relationship with Emma and his intention to reopen the investigation into his brother's death, the media had been relentless. Photographers camped outside her apartment, forcing her to stay with Lucy. Her social media accounts exploded with messages ranging from marriage proposals to death threats. Her phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. "Turn on Channel 4. Now." Lucy grabbed the remote, switching on her small TV. Victoria sat in a morning show studio, looking elegant in pale pink. The chyron below read, "Victoria Sterling, the truth about Nathan Hale." "Nathan's always had a hero complex," Victoria was saying, her voice dripping with concern. "First with Rebecca Porter after his brother's death, now with Emma Carter. He has this need to save vulnerable women, but it never ends well." "And you believe Ms. Carter is taking advantage of this?" the host prompted. "I believe she's very much her mother's daughter." Victoria's smile was sad. Catherine Carter has a documented history of pursuing wealthy men. Now her daughter's following the same path, but with higher stakes. Nathan's not just wealthy, he controls a company that employs thousands. His judgment affects many lives. Emma turned off the TV, feeling sick. Her phone buzzed again. Nathan wanting to come over. She texted back, "Not a good time." Lucy said softly, "You can't avoid him forever." "I'm not avoiding him. Emma gestured helplessly at the TV. "Protecting him. His company's stock drops every time I'm photographed with him. The board is threatening to remove him, and now Victoria's dragging my mother into it. So fight back, tell your side." "And say what? That I fell for him while cleaning his bathroom?" Emma's laugh was bitter. "Everything they're saying about me, about my background, my mother, it's all true. Being poor isn't a crime," Lucy snapped, "and neither is falling in love." Before Emma could respond, someone knocked. Lucy checked the peephole, then quickly stepped back. "It's him." Emma's heart jumped. "I told him not to come." "Since when does Nathan Hale follow orders?" Lucy grabbed her purse. "I'm going to get coffee. Take as long as you need." She slipped out past Nathan, who filled the small doorway in an impeccably tailored suit. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes suggesting sleepless nights. "You're not answering my calls," he said. "I've been busy." Emma gestured at her laptop. where half-finished design assignments waited. Some of us still have deadlines. Emma, the way he said her name, soft, almost pleading, made her heart ache. Talk to me. About what? About how your company's tanking because of me. About my mother's scandals being dredged up on national TV. She wrapped her arms around herself. Or about how I'm just another vulnerable woman you're trying to save. Nathan crossed the room in 2 strides, taking her face in his hands. You're not Rebecca. No, the press seems to think I am. Another charity case for the billionaire with a hero complex. Is that what you think this is? Emma tried to look away, but his hands held her gently in place. I think Victoria's right. About me being a liability. About my background being a problem. Your background is part of who you are. Nathan's thumbs traced her cheekbones. And who you are is the woman who saw past every wall I built. Who made me want to tear them all down. At what cost? Emma's voice cracked. Your company will survive. The acquisition deal closed this morning. Emma blinked. What? But the stock price? Turns out most of our investors care more about profit margins than gossip columns. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. And our new partners were impressed by my transparency about Daniel's case. They're backing the investigation. Victoria won't stop, Emma warned. She'll keep digging, keep trying to destroy us. Let her dig. Nathan's voice hardened. I've spent too many years letting fear of exposure control my life, letting the threat of scandal dictate my choices. His eyes met hers, intense and certain. I won't lose you to those fears. Emma's resistance crumbled. She leaned into him, letting his arms wrap around her. I'm scared, she whispered against his chest. Not of Victoria or the press, but of how much I feel for you. Of how much it would hurt to lose you. Nathan's hand tangled in her hair. Then don't push me away. She tilted her face up to his, and his kiss was like coming home, fierce and tender and full of promise. When they parted, he rested his forehead against hers. Move in with me, he said softly. Emma stiffened. What? The press is making your life hell here. My security team can protect you better at the penthouse. His eyes searched hers. And I sleep better when you're near. Nathan. Emma stepped back. I can't just move into your penthouse. I'm still technically your employee, and the press would have a field day. Then quit. I meant what I said about the reference letters. He caught her hand. And let the press talk. They will, anyway. Emma looked around Lucy's small apartment, at the design books and fabric samples scattered everywhere, at the life she'd built for herself, piece by piece. I need time, she said finally, to think about it. To be sure we're not just reacting to Victoria's games. Nathan nodded, though she saw the disappointment he tried to hide. Take all the time you need, he kissed her forehead. Just don't disappear on me again. After he left, Emma stood at the window, watching him dodge photographers on his way to his waiting car. Her phone buzzed with another news alert, but she ignored it. Let them talk. Let Victoria scheme. Some things, like the way Nathan looked at her, like the truth in his kiss, were worth fighting for, even if the fight had only just begun. Emma's first clue that something was wrong came when she entered the Alexandria's lobby and found Robert, the regular doorman, looking uncomfortable. Ms. Carter, he said quickly, perhaps you should come back another time. Before she could ask why, the elevator opened. A tall man in an expensive suit emerged, followed by 2 others carrying boxes from the direction of Nathan's penthouse. They looked like lawyers. Emma's heart stuttered. Nathan was supposed to be in a board meeting all morning. Why were strangers removing things from his home? Her phone had been silent for hours. Unusual, given Nathan's habit of texting her throughout the day. She'd assumed he was busy with the meeting. But now, the elevator needed her keycard for the penthouse floor, but her hands shook as she inserted it. The ride up felt endless, her mind racing with possibilities. Had the board finally turned against Nathan? Had Victoria somehow won? The penthouse doors opened to chaos. Men in suits moved efficiently through the space, photographing documents and loading files into boxes. In the center of it all stood Victoria, directing the operation like a general commanding troops. She smiled when she saw Emma. Perfect timing, though I suppose we'll have to update your security access. What's going on? Emma demanded. No, where's Nathan? Currently in custody, I imagine. Victoria examined her manicure. The FBI tends to be prompt about these things. The world tilted sideways. What? Oh, don't act surprised. Victoria's voice hardened. You had to know this would end eventually, though I admit you played your part beautifully, the devoted girlfriend, standing by him despite the scandal. She laughed softly. Even I almost believed you. Emma's confusion must have shown on her face, because Victoria's eyes narrowed. Unless you really didn't know. She pulled a document from a nearby box. Here, consider it a parting gift. Emma's hands trembled as she read. It was an email chain between Nathan and his former CFO, dated just before Daniel's death. They discussed moving company funds through offshore accounts, manipulating records. No, Emma whispered. This is fake. Nathan was investigating the CFO's embezzlement. Was he? Victoria's smile was sharp. Or was that just the story he told to cover his own tracks? She took the paper back. Daniel figured it out, you know. That's why Nathan had to silence him. Nathan loved his brother. Nathan loved control. Victoria stepped closer. Why do you think he chose you? A poor girl with dreams of a better life. So easy to manipulate. So grateful for any attention. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself, why did Nathan suddenly decide to reopen Daniel's case, right when the board was closest to discovering the truth about the missing funds? Victoria's voice dripped false sympathy. He needed a distraction, a romantic drama for the press to focus on, and you were perfect. Emma's legs felt weak. She sank onto the sofa, her mind spinning. Nathan's voices echoed in her memory. The CFO arranged it to look like an accident. But who had really arranged it? Security will escort you out, Victoria said. Do try to be dignified about it. The press is already gathering downstairs. As if in a dream, Emma let the security guards lead her to the service elevator. Her phone buzzed. Lucy calling, but she couldn't answer. Couldn't do anything but replay every moment with Nathan, searching for signs she might have missed. The photograph of the brothers, displayed so prominently. Had it been guilt rather than grief that made Nathan keep it hidden for so long? The SEC investigation he'd been so afraid of her discovering, had Victoria been protecting him rather than controlling him? The lobby was chaos, reporters shouting questions she couldn't process. Through the glass doors, she saw Lucy pushing through the crowd, trying to reach her. Then another figure caught her eye. Rebecca Porter stood across the street, her red hair unmistakable from the photographs. Their eyes met through the crowd, and Rebecca nodded once, deliberately before turning away. Emma ran. She burst out of the building, ignoring the cameras and microphones thrust in her face. "Rebecca!" she called. "Wait." The redhead paused, letting Emma catch up. Up close, she looked older than in the photos with Daniel, her face lined with old grief. "I saw the news," Rebecca said quietly, "about Nathan's arrest. I thought you might need answers." "Victoria says—" Emma's voice cracked. "She says Nathan was involved in Daniel's death, that the embezzlement wasn't just the CFO." Rebecca glanced at the circling reporters. "Not here. Come with me." They walked in silence, fighting through a cold wind that whipped off the Hudson. Finally, Rebecca led them into a small coffee shop, well away from the Alexandria's chaos. "I tried to warn you," she said, once they were seated in a back corner. "When I saw your relationship going public, but Victoria's people blocked every attempt at contact." Emma's hands clenched around her untouched coffee. "What's the truth?" "The truth," Rebecca's laugh was bitter. "The truth is that Daniel discovered something worse than embezzlement, something that went all the way to the top of Hale Industries." She pulled out an old notebook, its pages cramped with Daniel's handwriting. "The week before he died, he gave me this, told me to keep it safe." Emma's heart pounded as she read. The evidence was there, transfers, dates, coded messages. But the names involved. "The board," she whispered. "Most of them were in on it. Rebecca nodded. Nathan was trying to protect Daniel, told him to back off, to let it go. But Daniel, her voice caught, he was like you, believed in truth at any cost. So, when Victoria said Nathan had him killed, she's lying, but she's also scared. Rebecca took the notebook back, because Nathan's finally doing what he should have done 10 years ago, exposing everyone involved. And Victoria's father is on that list. Emma's world tilted again, this time righting itself. That's why she's been so desperate to stop him, to stop us. Love makes people dangerous, Rebecca said softly. Nathan loving you made him brave enough to finally face the truth. That's what Victoria couldn't allow. Emma stood abruptly. I have to help him. The FBI needs to see this evidence. It's not that simple. These people have power, connections. I don't care. Emma's voice was steel. Nathan faced his fears for me. Now it's my turn to face them for him. Rebecca studied her for a long moment, then handed over the notebook. Daniel would have liked you, she said quietly. You have his courage. Emma clutched the notebook like a lifeline. Thank you for this, and for helping me understand. Just be careful, Rebecca warned. Victoria's father won't go down without a fight, and his reach goes far beyond the boardroom. Outside, the wind had picked up, carrying the first hints of snow. Emma pulled out her phone, finally reading Lucy's frantic texts. The story was everywhere. Nathan's arrest, the accusations, the supposed evidence. But now she knew the truth, and like Daniel before her, she wouldn't let it stay buried, even if it meant taking on the most powerful people in Manhattan. Absolutely not. Lucy paced Emma's small living room, where files and documents from Daniel's notebook lay scattered across every surface. This is crazy, Em. These people had someone murdered. They could do the same to you. They could try. Emma didn't look up from her laptop, where she was cross-referencing dates and transactions. But staying quiet isn't an option anymore. It had been 24 hours since Nathan's arrest. 24 hours of ignored calls from reporters, of Victoria's smug face on every news channel, of Emma's mother leaving increasingly hysterical voicemails about learning from her mistakes. But it had also been 24 hours of discoveries. With Rebecca's help, Emma had spent the night piecing together the real story. The deeper she dug, the clearer the picture became, and the more she understood why Victoria had been so desperate to stop Nathan from reopening the case. Got it! Rebecca emerged from her intense study of bank statements. The transfers Victoria's father authorized, they all went through shell companies registered to this address. She pointed to a building name that made Emma's breath catch. The Alexandria. Rebecca nodded grimly. Suite 48B, 2 floors below Nathan's penthouse. That's Victoria's old apartment, Emma whispered, the one she never returned the key for. Lucy stopped pacing. You think she kept evidence? Victoria keeps everything she might be able to use later. Emma stood, determination straightening her spine. And I bet she never imagined anyone would connect her father's companies to that address. Even if you're right, Lucy argued, you can't just break into her old apartment. I don't have to. Emma pulled out her cleaning service ID. I just need to do my job. Rebecca's eyes widened. The master key? I'm still on the cleaning schedule for that floor. Emma's heart raced with equal parts fear and determination. And Victoria's too arrogant to think a mere cleaning girl could threaten her. This is insane, Lucy protested. Even if you find something, how would you get it to the FBI? They're not going to take the word of Nathan Hale's girlfriend. No, Rebecca said slowly, but they might listen to Daniel Hale's fiancée. She pulled out her phone. I still have contacts from the original investigation. People who believed me about Daniel, but couldn't prove anything. Emma gathered the relevant documents into her cleaning cart, hiding them under supplies. Lucy, I need you to take copies of everything we've found to that reporter who's been calling. The one who seems skeptical of Victoria's story. Tell him to be ready. Ready for what? Emma checked her phone. A text from Robert, the doorman who'd known her since her first day. According to him, Victoria was currently at FBI headquarters, probably gloating. Ready for the real story. Lucy grabbed Emma's arm. The last person who tried to expose this truth died, and the man I love is in jail for trying to finish what his brother started. Emma hugged her friend fiercely. I have to try. The ride to the Alexandria felt surreal. Emma had made this trip hundreds of times, but never with her heart pounding so hard or so much at stake. The familiar weight of her cleaning cart offered little comfort. Robert's eyes widened when he saw her. Ms. Carter. Just doing my job, Robert. She managed to smile. 48B is on today's schedule. He glanced at the security cameras, then back at her. Be careful up there. Strange sounds coming from that floor earlier. Might want to check it out thoroughly. Emma's pulse jumped. Robert had worked at the Alexandria for 20 years. He'd seen everything, including, she realized, Victoria's late-night visitors during the original investigation. The elevator felt like a cage. Every floor brought her closer to answers, or to disaster. The master key shook slightly in her hand as she approached 48B. The apartment hadn't been lived in for over a year, but it hardly mattered. Victoria's taste for classic furniture meant everything would have been built to last, including... Emma ran her hands along the mahogany panels in the study, remembering Victoria's obsession with proper hiding places for proper ladies. Her fingers caught on a slight indentation. With a soft click, a panel swung open. Inside, a USB drive sat beside a stack of papers. Emma's hands trembled as she read the top document, a detailed account of payments made to the medical examiner who'd ruled Daniel's death an accident. A floorboard creaked behind her. I wondered how long it would take you to figure it out. Emma spun around. Howard Sterling, Victoria's father, stood in the doorway. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I told Victoria you were smarter than you looked, he said conversationally. That's why I had to take precautions. Movement in the hall behind him. Men in dark suits. Not FBI agents. Emma's phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from Lucy. FBI contact ready. Where's the evidence? With deliberate calm, Emma reached for her cart, as if to resume cleaning. Her hand closed around the bottle of industrial-strength cleaning spray. Mr. Sterling, she said carefully, I'm just doing my job. No, my dear. He stepped closer. You're interfering in things far beyond your understanding, just like Daniel did. Emma's grip tightened on the spray bottle. Daniel understood perfectly. That's why you had him killed. Such dramatic accusations, Howard sighed. Victoria warned me you had an overactive imagination. I suppose we'll have to handle this the hard way. One of his men moved forward. Emma waited until he was almost upon her, then sprayed the cleaning solution directly into his eyes. He screamed, stumbling back. Emma ran. She burst into the hallway, heart pounding. The elevator would be too slow. She sprinted for the stairs, clutching the evidence to her chest. Behind her, Howard barked orders. Footsteps thundered in pursuit. 48 floors. She just had to make it 48 floors, and hope that someone was still left to trust when she got there. The stairwell echoed with footsteps and shouts as Emma ran downward, her lungs burning. 40 floors to go. 39, 38. The evidence felt like it was burning a hole through her uniform. Her phone buzzed. Lucy sending another text she couldn't stop to read. The sound of pursuit grew closer. These men were trained for this. She was just a cleaning lady who occasionally used the gym. Ms. Carter. Howard Sterling's voice carried down the stairwell, eerily calm. Let's be reasonable. Whatever you think you found, I'm sure we can come to an arrangement. Emma pushed harder, remembering Nathan's face when he talked about Daniel, remembering Rebecca's haunted eyes. Some things couldn't be arranged away. A door slammed above her. They were trying to cut her off at lower floors. 25 floors to go. Her phone buzzed again, more insistent this time. Still running. She pulled it out. Lucy, FBI and reporters in lobby. Stall for time. Emma's mind raced. Stall. She was barely staying ahead as it was. Unless... She burst through the door of the 20th floor, sprinting down the familiar hallway. If Howard's men followed her camera trail, they'd expect her to keep running down. Instead, she swiped her master key on apartment 20C, one she'd cleaned just yesterday. The empty apartment welcomed her with shadows. Emma ran straight to the bedroom, to the walk-in closet she'd organized dozens of times. Behind the rack of designer clothes, a service elevator waited, the building's oldest, used mainly by maintenance staff. Her hands shook as she pressed the call button. Would it still work? The ancient machinery groaned to life. Footsteps thundered past in the hallway, male voices coordinating their search. The elevator arrived with a gentle ding that seemed impossibly loud. Emma slipped inside, just as shouts indicated they'd discovered her deviation from the stairs. She pressed the button for the lobby, willing the slow elevator to move faster. Her heart nearly stopped when it creaked to a halt at the 10th floor. The doors opened to reveal Victoria Sterling. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then, Victoria's eyes narrowed on the documents clutched to Emma's chest. "Going down!" Emma's voice was surprisingly steady. Victoria's hand shot out to stop the doors from closing. "You have no idea what you're doing." "Actually, I do." Emma met her gaze. "I'm finishing what Daniel started, what Nathan was willing to risk everything to expose. My father will destroy you. Like he destroyed Daniel." Emma's voice hardened. "Like you helped him destroy Rebecca." Something flickered in Victoria's eyes. Doubt, guilt. "You don't understand. My father murdered your fiancé's brother." Emma's words hit like bullets. "And you helped cover it up, all to protect the family name." Victoria flinched. "I didn't know, not at first. By the time I figured it out." Her voice caught. "Do you know what it's like to realize your father is a monster? To know that every luxury you enjoyed, every advantage you had was built on blood money?" The elevator groaned, eager to continue its descent. Emma's phone buzzed again. "Help me expose him," she said softly. "Do what you couldn't do for Daniel." Victoria's hand trembled on the door. Above them, voices echoed in the stairwell, growing closer. "He's still my father," she whispered. "And Nathan was supposed to be your love." Emma held her gaze. "Choose better this time." For a long moment, neither moved. Then Victoria stepped into the elevator, letting the doors close. "The FBI is waiting in the lobby," she said quietly, "along with every major news outlet in the city. Father's men will be monitoring all the exits." Emma's heart sank. "So I'm trapped?" "No." Victoria pulled out her phone. "You're about to make one hell of an entrance." She typed rapidly, then showed Emma the screen. A group text to every society reporter in her contacts. Exclusive, Victoria Sterling, to reveal shocking truth about father's role in Daniel Hale murder. Lobby of the Alexandria. Now, the elevator seemed to move faster now, as if sensing the importance of its cargo. Emma's phone lit up with a message from Rebecca. "In position with FBI. Lucy has reporters ready." "Why?" Emma asked Victoria. "Why help me now?" Victoria's smile was sad. "Because Nathan loved Daniel more than anything in the world, and I loved Nathan enough to help hide a murder." She straightened her shoulders. "Now maybe it's time to love the truth instead." The elevator shuddered to a halt at the lobby level. Through the doors, they could hear the growing crowd, the excited murmur of reporters scenting a story. "Ready?" Victoria's hand hovered over the door button. Emma clutched the evidence tighter. "What about your father's men?" "That's the beautiful thing about the press." Victoria's smile turned sharp. "They make excellent witnesses." The doors opened onto chaos. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Howard Sterling's men froze, suddenly unsure in the face of so many witnesses. Through the crowd, Emma saw Rebecca with FBI agents, Lucy with her reporter contact, Robert the doorman looking quietly pleased, and there, being led in by more agents, Nathan. Their eyes met across the lobby. His face showed a mix of fear for her and pride in her courage. Even in handcuffs, he stood straight, refusing to be bowed. "Ms. Sterling," the reporters surged forward. "Is it true about your father?" Victoria stepped forward, every inch the polished socialite. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have a statement to make. About Daniel Hale's murder, about my father's involvement, and about a decade-long cover-up that ends today." As she began to speak, Emma made her way through the crowd to the FBI agents. She handed over the evidence with shaking hands, watching as they quickly grasped its significance. Nathan reached her just as her knees started to give out. Despite his restraints, he managed to steady her. "I told you the truth would come out," she whispered. His eyes shone with tears and triumph. "No, you showed me how to make it come out." Over his shoulder, Emma saw Howard Sterling being led in by more agents, his face twisted with rage. Victoria's voice carried over the crowd, steady and clear as she detailed years of corruption and murder. The truth was messy and painful, just as Emma had known it would be, but standing there in Nathan's arms, watching justice finally unfold, she knew it was also the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. Some lies were too heavy to carry forever. Some loves were worth the weight of truth. 1 year later, Emma stood in Nathan's penthouse, their penthouse now, putting the finishing touches on her latest design project. The space had transformed over the past year, warming from its previous sterile elegance into something that felt lived in, loved in. Daniel's photograph still held pride of place on the mantel, but it was no longer alone. New pictures surrounded it. Nathan and Emma at her design school graduation, Lucy's wedding where Emma had been maid of honor, even one of Victoria in Barcelona with Rebecca, both women smiling tentatively at new beginnings. The trial had dominated headlines for months. Howard Sterling's empire crumbled as the evidence mounted, not just of Daniel's murder, but of decades of financial crimes that had funded Manhattan's elite. Victoria's testimony had been crucial, her clear account of the cover-up leaving no room for doubt. Emma smoothed a throw pillow, remembering the day Nathan was formally cleared of all charges. He'd walked out of the courthouse straight to her, dropping to one knee in front of the waiting cameras. Her answer had been immediate, undeniable, just like her love for him. The elevator chimed. Nathan emerged, looking relaxed in casual clothes, a far cry from the rigid businessman she'd first encountered. The board meeting went well. Surprisingly well. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, both of them looking out at the Manhattan skyline. They approved the Daniel Hale Foundation's full funding. Rebecca's arts program for troubled teens will launch next month. Emma leaned back against him, remembering Rebecca's tears when Nathan had first proposed the foundation. She would have loved knowing Daniel's legacy is helping other young artists. She already does. Nathan's voice was soft. Rebecca's agreed to run the program. Says it's time to start painting again. Emma turned in his arms. And Victoria, still in Europe, but she sent a generous donation to the foundation. His eyes held a mix of old pain and new understanding. People can surprise you. Speaking of surprises, Emma bit her lip. I have something to show you. She led him to what had once been his home office. The space had been cleared, the stark desk replaced by something softer, warmer. I know we talked about waiting, she said quickly, but after everything with the foundation, and Rebecca coming back, and Victoria finding her way, it felt like the right time. Nathan stood in the doorway, taking in the pale yellow walls, the star-scattered ceiling, the vintage rocking chair by the window. A nursery, he whispered. Emma's hand drifted to her stomach, still flat but holding their future. Is it too soon? Instead of answering, Nathan crossed the room in 2 strides, gathering her close. His kiss tasted of joy and tears and promises kept. It's perfect, he said against her hair. You're perfect, Emma smiled, remembering their first awkward encounter in his bathroom all those months ago. Even if I walk in on you in compromising positions. Especially then. His laugh rumbled through his chest. Though maybe we should work on your timing before the baby comes. They stood together in the gentle afternoon light, surrounded by the life they'd built from the ashes of secrets and lies. Outside, Manhattan sparkled like a sea of possibilities. I have one more surprise, Nathan said softly. He led her to his old desk, the one piece of furniture she'd insisted on keeping. From a drawer, he pulled out a familiar yellow duster. Emma's breath caught. You kept it all this time. It reminded me of the moment everything changed. He placed it in her hands. When a cleaning girl with courage walked into my life and taught me that some things are worth the risk. We've come a long way from cleaning supplies and stolen glances. Have we? His eyes sparkled with familiar warmth. Because I still feel like that man, stunned by your honesty, falling a little more in love every time you see the real me. Emma stretched up to kiss him, remembering every version of themselves that had led to this moment. The billionaire and the cleaning girl, the grieving brother and the dreaming student, the man and woman who'd chosen truth over safety, love over fear. We should frame this, she said, holding up the duster, and put it next to Daniel's photo. Nathan's smile was soft, a reminder of where we started, of how far we've come. She looked around their home, at the perfectly imperfect blend of their lives, at the nursery waiting for new beginnings, at the photograph of a laughing young man whose truth had finally been told, of how love can transform any space into something beautiful. Outside, snow began to fall, dusting the penthouse windows with gentle white. But inside, warmth bloomed, in the colors Emma had chosen, in the life growing beneath her heart, in the way Nathan looked at her like she was still the most surprising thing he'd ever seen. Some cleaned houses, others built empires. But Emma and Nathan had built something rarer, a home where truth could live, where love could heal, where the past could rest easy while the future bloomed. And in the end, that was the greatest transformation of all, the end. Thanks for watching to the end. Did you like the story? Tell us what you thought in the comments below. We want to know what you think. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe now for more exciting stories you won't want to miss. Activate the bell to be notified whenever a new video comes out. See you in the next story. See you there.